Hi YouTubers, today what I'd like to do is a comparative check of the sound of 3 different violins I have in order to determine which one would be best. And the reason I want to do that is I want to get to know the sound capabilities of all these instruments more objectively. In other words, from more of a distance. Because for example, if you're right up here on your violin all the time, you may not know what it sounds like compared to what it sounds like out just a little farther. It may sound like it's very blaring and everything, but then if you went a few feet away or a few yards away, you might find that it's a very pleasing sound. In contrast, you may find that if you have a kind of a pleasing soft sound here, you get out a few feet and it may be a little bit wimpy and not loud enough and just not forceful enough. So that's what I want to get a more objective view. So the 3 violins I have are this one. It's a Chinese violin. It's fairly good quality, and it's all these violins are under $200. Basically, I have this one. I have another one that's a used violin, and I have another one that's a lower quality, probably Chinese violin. So these 3 violins each have slightly different tone and slightly different volume. So this one is strung up with parastro tonica sound. So let's hear what it sounds like. So I've played a variety of low, high sounds. I'll play one more that spans the, it'll be in all the tests. This spans all 4 strings and it goes through low to high notes. So that's the first violin. Correction, that previous violin was strung up with D'Addario helichords. This one is a used violin and it's been strung up with basically parastro tonicas. So I'll play that same little riff on this one. So that's that one. This last violin, this is it's got a brand name, it's called Rothenburg. It's a cheapy, probably Chinese. It says made German style. And it's a more of like, you might say $100, maybe even less than $100. Now this is strung up with actually some of the cheapest strings, if not the cheapest strings I can find out there. They're pure steel. You know, I'd like to be able to play on steel strings and see what can I get out of how cheap the cheapest stuff. I don't have a lot of money, so I like to try and find cheap alternatives if possible. And these are a little too light to the point where this E string, I had to put a helicore E string on instead of the one it came with because it was so light it was just sliding across the bow. I don't know if that was me, but when I added the helicore, it seemed to correct things pretty good. So here's a test on this one. And on this violin, I don't mind it that bad. I think I would rather have either some heavier steel strings on it, or some helicores, or even some tonicas. You know, all those are low price strings. Now for a lot of you, even my best violin is nothing compared to your best violin, and maybe it would even be worse than your worst violin. Also, the other thing that can make a violin sound better is you. If you get better on the violin, you go back to a violin that didn't sound so good when you weren't playing so good, you might want to try that violin again if you got multiple violins like me. And then you might say, and you might want to go objectively too. Does it really sound that bad? There's so much in a sound though. So I tested those 3 violins, and I would like to ask that if you do watch this, that perhaps you leave a comment in terms of which violin you like. You know, just you can say violin, first violin, second violin, or third violin. And so anyway, I'll thank you for watching if you even watched to this point.